Hello everybody and welcome to our second event here at Daytona Speedweek as we are getting set for Daytona 500 qualifying, where we will determine who's going to start on the front row of the Great American Race. I am Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, as we are here for Daytona 500 qualifying, the second event of Daytona Speedweek. After today, we got 3 more events left. We got the Gatorade Duels tomorrow, then on Thursday is final practice, and then on Friday is the Daytona 500 itself. But we're getting set for the first session of Daytona 500 qualifying, where this will determine the inside line for the Daytona 500, including the pole. You got Trent Dunham, Phil Parker, David Rivera, Zach Rogers, Charles Jackson, Charles Sanford, Joshua Sekuli, DJ Curtis, Chris Michaels, Carson Gum, Benjamin Miles, Chris Dollerton, Paul Minnick, Reed Rylden, Preston Plord, Sean Galligan, Jesse King, Mark Lane, Dorian Facepuncher, James Shelley, Nelson Thornhill, Dougie Shears, Nathaniel Reed, Cole Deaver, and Seth Cole. Those are all the drivers we have for this first qualifying session to determine the inside line. As let's get this show on the road as we await for the first car to pull out onto the racetrack to get this session started, as cars are just popping up on pit road awaiting for one to pull out. And also, these are 10-minute sessions, so not a whole lot of time to get stuff in. And it looks like the first car I see going out is Dougie Shears. So Dougie Shears will pull out first. He'll be the first one to get on track. Dougie Shears' last season in the Marvel Studios Cup is a season he wants to forget. Didn't make a whole lot of races. Then right behind him is DJ Curtis, who had a solid season. He won a race, which is good. Still with Stuart Haas, but moving on to the number 14 this season. Right behind DJ Curtis, as with the Rockstar Energy Racing, or the Rockstar Racing cars, is going to be hard to tell, but right there, that is Cole Deaver in the number 92, newcomer to the series. And then right behind him is Dorian Facepuncher, who last season ran really strong. Won a race at Thornton in what was an epic fail of a race, however. And Dorian Facepuncher, I believe, finished top 10 in the points. So he's automatically locked into the first 5 races, including the Daytona 500. And then right behind Dorian Facepuncher on the racetrack is the number 26 of Paul Minnick, the second out of the 3 Rockstar Racing cars. The third one, Andrew Rich, will be in session number 2. Right behind them in the championship-winning number 11 car is Joshua Sekuli, newcomer to the series, though I've heard that name from other in our 2003 offline series. And while he's in the picture here, number 44 is Sean Galligan, moving from a Ford to a Dodge Dart this season, and he wants to definitely have a better season here in Season 2. Right behind them, Seth Cole in the number 98 for Retro Racing Enterprises this season, running the Chronicles of Narnia car. So, interesting choice of a ride and a team for Seth Cole. Typically we see him in the number 52 for Tweenix, but this time he's decided to move on to the 98. Right behind the 98 is the number 17 of Chris Michaels, moving on to Roush Racing in order to unite with his best friend David Rivera and another good friend of both of theirs, Rafael LeDuc, to form a 3-car super team for Roush Racing. Right behind the 17, we have the number 42 of Preston Plord back to his typical ride in offline racing. Preston Plord last season think he had another one of those mediocre seasons. Right behind him in the number 51 is Jesse King. I remember him running my formerly known as the Walmart Cup Series, but now he's making the transition over here to the Marvel Studios Cup Series to replace James McLeod this season in the number 51. We shall see how he does here in this series. Right behind him, another rookie. This is going to be one of the biggest rookie fields I've ever had in an offline series. 21 rookies, I believe, are in this season. And right here's another one of them, Reed Reilden in the number 38 M&M Chevy for Sega Motorsports. Interesting choice for a team for that 38 car. And he's got a teammate, one of the other Sega Motorsports cars, in the number 21 of Benjamin Miles. Benjamin Miles last season didn't make a whole lot of races in the number 99. This time around, he's in the number 21 Sega Motorsports McDonald's Big Mac Chevy. We'll see how he does this season compared to last season. Behind them, another rookie for a new Dodge team, the number 56 Monster Energy Snickers Dodge Dart for Michael Waltrip Racing, and that is Mark Lane. Also known as Cover Killer Nation on YouTube, one of the biggest music reviewing YouTubers going out there. Big racing fan, wrestling fan, heavy metal guy. So, interesting to see how he'll do in my series. Right behind him, in the number 1, is another Sega Motorsports car, and that is Trent Dunham, the leader of Sega Motorsports, as a matter of fact. So I think all the Sega Motorsports drivers are in this first session, except for rookie Tim Fiegel in the number 8. I believe he's in session number 2. Side by side behind them in the number 4, another rookie, Phil Parker. Phil Parker, I've never seen him in offline. I've raced with him online, and he's pretty solid. We'll see how he does in my series. And right behind him, an old favorite, Zach Rogers in the number 9 Dodge Dart and the Dodge SRT Dodge Dart. It's been a while since I've had Zach Rogers in an offline series of mine, but he is back in a big way. However, a rookie in this series, so we shall see how he does this season. And then right behind those two is another 2-car train, as it is James Shelley, good friend of mine, formerly in my Walmart Cup Series, but now here in my series, racing the 71 Monster Energy Florida Lottery Toyota for Michael Waltrip Racing. Or no, not Michael Waltrip Racing, what am I saying? For Furniture Row Racing, along with the 77, 78, and 87. And then right behind him, and a good friend of his and mine, Carson Gum in the number 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Back at it in that 19 Subway car. And then look at this big pack of cars. And I believe I've talked about some of these in the pack, except for a couple. Right there in that number 78, Nelson Thornhill, a.k.a. Kamikaze Games on YouTube. Added for his second season in the series. Last season, his rookie season, he ran pretty strong, so we shall see how he does here in Season 2, running the Bass Pro Shops Toyota. And then right behind him, a couple ones that we haven't talked about. Chris Dollarton in the number 23 Xbox Ford for Young Motorsports. Last season in the 34, he only made one race, but in that one race he finished in the top 10. Let's see if he can translate any sort of magic from it. And then right beside him is the number 6 Valvoline Ford of David Rivera, who I talked about with Chris Michaels, good friend and a veteran of my offline series. Looking around for anybody else, here's a couple more. We got Nathaniel Reed in the number 88 Mountain Dew Chevy for Hendrick Motorsports. Don't know much about him. We shall see how he does here. And then a couple, and it's the Charles and Charles show, a.k.a. the Squishy Mayonnaise Fusion, the number 03 Vanilla Coke car of Charles Sanford. Last season, if I remember right, he ran pretty solid. And right behind him is the Mayonnaise Man himself, Charles Jackson, in the Aaron's Hellman's machine for Michael Waltrip Racing Dodge Dart, a new Dodge Dart team. We shall see how Jackson runs as a rookie. And I believe that is everybody. I've talked about everybody in session 1 with under a minute left in the session. And right now, DJ Curtis is looking good for the pole, but he has it only by 5/1000ths of a second over Cole Deaver. And then it's Chris Dollarton, David Rivera, Nelson Thornhill, Dougie Shears, Joshua Sakuli, Paul Minnick, Sean Galligan, and Charles Jackson, the top 10. And remember one important thing, actually, if I can remember off the top of my head. 3, count them, 3 of the Go Homers will transfer into the 500 via speed. And right now I think those 3 would be Cole Deaver, Chris Dollarton, and Dougie Shears. Well, it just changed. The poll just changed at the last second. David Rivera has got the pole. Holy cow, something must have happened somewhere, but David Rivera has taken over the pole, and now those 3 Go Homers that are in are still Cole Deaver, Chris Dollarton, and Dougie Shears. Holy cow, that was an interesting turn of events right there. But man, oh man. So it looks like we've got the inside line for the Gatorade Duel number 1 race set, as well as the pole sitter. David Rivera is going to be on the pole for the Daytona 500. But don't you worry, people. Or actually, no, Cole Deaver's got it. It changed again. They had a few more extra seconds, and now Cole Deaver's on the pole. Cole Deaver, a rookie out of Rockstar Racing, is now your pole sitter for the Daytona 500. Well, stick around for session number 2, everybody. Welcome back, and it's time for session number 2 to determine the outside line of the front row of the Daytona 500, as well as the lineup for duel number 2. So the remaining drivers left to qualify to earn their place in the 500 include Dylan Young, Jonathan Zorline, Tim Fiegel, Jessica Sheldon, Kyle Matthews, Ashlyn Boyd, Kev Shearer, Johnny Gardner, PJ Williams, Emmanuel Hartnett, JT Bryant, Matt McIntyre, Dylan Poteet, Dylan Thoreau, Joshua Collard, Austin LaPlante, Grayson Acevedo, Anthony McCrory, James Qualls, Matt Haas, Oscar Anderson, Angel Olvera, Zachary Fitzwater, Andrew Rich, and Rafael Leduc. So it is time to determine who will start second in the Daytona 500, as now we wait for drivers to pop up on pit road to get this session started. So a reminder, Cole Deaver, after a last second time, got the pole and is locked into the Daytona 500, along with Chris Dollarton and Dougie Shears. So those are the 3 from session 1 that transferred their way in on speed. Because remember, it's top 30 points drivers from last season that are still around, that are locked into the first 5 races, as well as here in the Daytona 500. The rest of the field, it'll be 3 drivers from session 1 that get in on speed, 3 drivers from session 2 that get on speed, so that'd be 36. And then we get to the dual races, and it'll be the 3 highest go or go home finishers in each duel to round it up back up to 42 for the 500. But anyways, Emmanuel Hartnett being the first one to get out on track to get a lap in. Last season is a season he want to forget about because he didn't make a whole lot. Right behind him in the number 87 is Angel Olvera, newcomer to my series who I don't really know too much about, so we shall see how he does. Then right behind him, Jonathan Zorlin in the number 5 this season for Hendrick Motorsports. And Zorlin had a pretty solid season last season, won a race, but barely got in the top 30, cut to run the first 5 races this season. So interesting turn of events for Zorlin. Right behind him, Jessica Shelton in the number 02 Vanilla Coke Chevy. And of course, last season would be a season she wants to forget about as well. And then right behind her on track is teammate Kyle Matthews. That's kind of an interesting thing right there. 2 Retro Racing Enterprise teammates working together. Good strategy. Kyle Matthews last season had a solid season, so interesting thing for him. Coming off track to get on track, or coming off pit road to get on track, is the 48 of Austin LaPlante, where last season he had a pretty solid season in the number 5, but he's back to his favorite ride, the number 48. Right behind them is Johnny Gardner in the number 15 Interstate Battery Chevy for Tweenix Racing. Not the typical ride for Johnny Gardner, I must say. So he is here in Season 2 for Tweenix Racing. Side by side just now getting across the line is Dylan Poteet. Last season had an okay season. We shall see how he does here in Season 2. And right in front of him is Raphael Leduc, who was the Rookie of the Season, or Rookie of the Year last season, by about 10 points over Nelson Thornhill. And he's still with Roush, but in the number 99, and that is a fine paint scheme he's running. The Guardians of the Galaxy WWE 2K18 Ford, with Sprite as another sponsor. So we shall see how Leduc runs here this season in a different ride. And then right there, in the number 91 Sharpie Dodge Dart, is Zachary Fitzwater. Long-time racer in my offline series. His debut in the Marvel Studios Cup, so we'll see how he does here in Marvel Studios Cup. And then right behind him, similarly, it's PJ Williams, the man who was known as arguably the greatest in our offline racer on my channel to have never won a championship. Because back in the Walmart Cup, he came close so many times to getting the title. But let's see if he can come back with a vengeance, as he's a rookie this season for Marvel Studios Cup. Right behind him in the number 12 is Kev Shearer, still with Young Motorsports, but in a different number, the number 12. So we shall see how Kev Shearer does this season. And then side by side behind him in the 2, Dylan Young, who last season ran pretty strong and won the Budweiser Shootout yesterday. So we'll see how he can do as far as qualifying for the Daytona 500. And right in front of him is another rookie, Ashlyn Boyd, in the number 10 Monster Energy PlayStation 4 Dodge Dart for Bulldog Motorsports. And then we got quite a few in this pack, including 2 Red Bull Racing teammates who we'll talk about in a second. But right now, James Qualls in the number 70 for Retro Racing Enterprises. We shall see how he does here in Season 2. Underneath of him is the 24 of Matt McIntyre, who last season didn't make a lot of races. Right behind him is JT Bryant in the 22, another one who didn't make a whole lot of races. And then you got 2 Red Bull Racing teammates in this pack. Anthony McCrory in the 61 ran really strong in Season 1, top 5 in points. So we shall see how he does here in this season. And then in front of him is rookie newcomer Oscar Anderson, who I don't know anything about, so we'll see how he'll do here in Season 2. And there is the 3rd and final Rockstar Racing team driver, the number 96 of Andrew Rich, who I have seen in our 2003 offline series, but none in mine. So this is his first time being in a series on my channel. And then right behind him, the guy who came so close to winning the first season title, Joshua Collard, as he moves to a Dodge Dart this season. Still with Richard Petty Motorsports, but just not in a Ford. And 2 Furniture Row Racing teammates. There's Angel Alvera, but right behind him is another rookie, Matt Haas, in the number 77 5-hour energy car. Another guy I don't know anything about, so we'll see how he does. Behind him in the number 41 is Dylan Thoreau, who last season did okay in the number 16. Well, now he's in a different team, Stewart Haas Racing, so we shall see. And then leading this 3-car pack with Matthews and Shelton is Tim Fiegel in the number 8 Budweiser Chevy for Sega Motorsports. The only Sega Motorsports driver in duel number 2, where all the other ones are in duel number 1. Trying to look for anybody. Oh, there's one. The number 55 Mountain Dew Dodge Dart for Michael Waltrip Racing, and that is rookie Grayson Acevedo, who I know nothing about, so we'll see how he does. Trying to look around for anybody I may have missed out on. But I think that is everybody. Trying to go down through the list here. Yeah, I think that is everybody. So we've documented everybody so far here in session number 2 with under 2 minutes to go in session 2. So still plenty of time for somebody to overthrow the outside pole sitter in the second position, which right now that driver starting second is James Qualls. James Qualls in the number 70 right now would be the one starting second in the Daytona 500, and right now the the 3 highest go or go home drivers that would make it in via speed would be Oscar Anderson, Tim Fiegel, and Zachary Fitzwater. And I made a mistake. Chris Dollerton actually is already in the 500. I can't remember who it was, the third one that made it in on speed. So actually I'm going to look at that real quick, so I apologize for that little freeze there. Now we're back in business. With 40 seconds left, that third one is actually Joshua, and actually no, not Dougie Shears either, so it's Joshua Sekuli, Paul Minnick, who are also in, along with Cole Deaver. 30 seconds of the scheduled time before we get to an additional, we get to an additional 45 seconds. And right now it's still all James Qualls for second, and go homers being Oscar Anderson, Tim Fiegel, and Zachary Fitzwater. And now that scheduled time is over, so now we got the extra 45 seconds, so last opportunity for somebody to try and earn as much spots as possible. But keep in mind, not this lineup is going to be locked in. This is only just to determine the field for duel number 2, as well as who will start second in the 500. As we got 15 seconds left, and it's still James Qualls. Although you got this big pack of cars, let's see if anybody can pull something off. I don't know if it's big enough to really change much. And the official time is over. James Qualls, congratulations, is going to start second in the Daytona 500. And the 3 go homers who are in are Oscar Anderson, Tim Fiegel, and Zachary Fitzwater. Thank you guys for watching Daytona 500 qualifying. See you tomorrow for the Gatorade Duels.